is Bethany. I'm a retired funeral director turned dog groomer. And 2 years ago, my man, our daughter, and myself left our so-called normal and established lifestyle in Ontario, Canada, for a life we always chatted about during morning coffee, fast-tracking our retirement plans, chasing our dreams, risking our future. In the race against old age, we purchased 7 unseen off-grid acres in the wilderness of Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia. We downsized everything we owned, loaded up a trailer, our dog, 2 cats, an ATV, and hauled ourselves 2,100 kilometers east to our new land. We knew for sure that our life was about to make a drastic change, but what we didn't know was that we were relocating to the most gorgeous place we'd ever seen. We took a chance and it's been worth it. Join us as we navigate our new RV lifestyle, new climate, new landscape, new wildlife, building a world we dreamed of in a place only seen in postcards from the ground up. Thanks for visiting and subscribe to my channel if you would enjoy the content of a 40-something gal running away into the woods with her family. Hey everyone, thanks so much for popping in to see me today for another midweek lifestyle vlog from my corner of the world. It's been a massive mixed bag of weather for us the last few days. Manfred and I talk about the weather here a lot and how dramatic it can be. We woke up Sunday to a gorgeous and beautifully hot summer day. The kind of weather we dream about in the dead of winter, if you know what I mean. You will see all sorts of attire that I'm sporting as the video goes on, and it is no joke that I went from hoodies to bikinis to shorts to thermals all within a 3-day period. One minute we are melting in the sun, and the next minute we are starting the wood stove. I secretly love the variety of weather around here, to be honest, and I secretly have zero shame in what I wear. I do not put in any thought when I rummage through the closet in the morning. I am focused on comfort, that is all. And actually, if it were up to Manfred and I, we would just run around naked like a bunch of wild animals. Coming down the hill, there's all sorts of beautiful little wildflowers, raspberries. There's a patch here of raspberries and a patch here, a patch here. And I keep the grass trimmed around it so that I can get to them this year. Last year they were all sort of crowded with weeds. I don't want to talk too much because I don't want the cats to know I'm down here. They'll follow me. I'm like the mother cat. They're up there catching mice like crazy lately. Love it. Like seriously, 2 this morning. Up by the shop too. So they're doing their job. It is Sunday, by the way. Beautiful, sunny Sunday. I said to Manfred this morning over coffee, should I trim the grass first or take a kayak first? He's like, I'd be taking a kayak. I don't even know if I'll get to the trimming today. We'll see. I love the aspens when they blow in the breeze. So beautiful on the lake today. Manfred and I were down here the other day and we put the dock in the water. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for us. Our daughter's been coming down here every night, hanging out. I love it. We kind of adjusted some of the rocks. Here, I'll show you. We adjusted some of the rocks to make a sort of a better path around the tree down to the dock, and then put a little clothesline across here that you can hang towels and life jackets and stuff. One thing I do that you're going to probably laugh at me is I like to wipe my kayak down before I get on it because I don't want creepy crawly spiders on me when I'm in my kayak. I keep a rag hung up here so that I can wipe it down. So I thought I would take some time here to answer a few questions you have asked me over the last few videos. And by the way, thank you so much for engaging with me in my comment section. In regards to my garden, someone asked if we had problems with deer and rabbits getting into my crops, and the answer is no, not yet anyway. We do have deer and rabbits, And we have moose and bear, but so far only rabbits have ventured close to our property. Our cats have kept a lot of the critters at bay this year, so I'm hopeful but not confident that the bunnies will stay out. As you will see in my little garden update later in the video, all is well so far. Another question I had was about how I get water to the garden, and while we have plans to eventually run a little drip line from our ram pump, I'm just super old school, simply using a pail and just dunking it into the river, which runs right there by the garden. Truth be told, we really don't need to water very much at all. I think last year, one time during an extreme dry spell, I shot some water to my plants, but for the most part, if I stick my finger in the soil, it's almost always damp and cool. Another question I've been getting asked often, which is completely off the garden topic, is what happened to my Undertaker diaries, and have I abandoned the idea of sharing my stories? And the answer is no. I definitely have not abandoned that segment of my channel. My diaries are posted for a week and then I put them into archives. They're not gone, they're just hidden. So if you don't see them within that week, you won't see them at all unless I pull them out of the archives. And I have my next chapter on its final editing stages. It will probably be an hour long, but most likely longer. And the diaries are they're not on my list of priorities, so I work on it when I have a quiet moment, which lately has not been often since it's, yard work and garden season. I find the Undertaker stories more difficult to translate, and it takes much longer and more brain power to publish a video, mainly because if I actually read to you verbatim the words written in my diary, you could be traumatized by my personal stories. I have to be very careful how I explain my Undertaker life to the public. It's sensitive, as you can imagine, but I also want to keep them very real, which can also be tricky to articulate. I'm working on it one line at a time. Although I will say, editing my Undertaker diaries, while it brings to surface old feelings and harsh memories, it also makes me even more grateful than ever for my boring life out here in the woods. And one last question for now. I have been asked how deep this lake is and if we swim in here, and the answer is 20 feet at the deepest spot, and yes, swimming is amazing. The lake is very clear and not very cold, to be honest. In the summer, I like to bring my pajamas down and give myself a sponge bath after a relaxing kayak. It's the most refreshing thing ever. I also take stones and give myself pedicures. River's all dried up. It's so quiet now, hey? The old tent trailer base has really come in handy. We've used it for all sorts of little things already. Look at, not a drop of water in there. Ugh, so sad. Sad, but it's still beautiful in here, nice and quiet. Early spring, Manfred and I trimmed and cleaned out this section here. So this little trail here meets up with, kind of goes up like that, you can see, meets up with my Tia's trail, which is over here. Tia's trailhead starts here. So this kind of loops around right here. And I was planning on like cleaning this up also and putting like perennials in there. But we have so much to do here still. Lots of dead tree limbs there still, but we've cleaned up a lot. Like this used to be all dead. So, I mean, it looks good considering. So now I'm going to tear apart this tent, put it down at the lake, although it's so nice here still. Like it's still a nice place to camp. I made a little cheeky trail to the plums. Our first 3 face cords of wood just arrived for winter. Hooray! Or at least warm until January. So I changed my mind and decided to put the tent over here by the shop, kind of in the bird sanctuary, mainly because lately there's been remnants of a bear in the area, and my daughter has shown an interest in possibly camping out in the tent, and I'd feel better if she was closer to home. In about a month, we will be welcoming our first round of visitors to our property for this year. We are so excited to see all of our family and our friends. And one thing we like to do in preparation of their visit is to stock up on, you guessed it, lobster. We enjoy preparing a fun lobster dinner for everyone that visits us. So Manfred will order a whole whack of them. He'll usually eat 2 of them fresh that night that he cooks them, and the rest all go into the freezer. If you're coming out to see us this year, this one might be yours. Manfred also decided to put a little love into our blue over here. It's kind of just sitting there, still waiting for some parts. And in a couple weeks, we're doing a fun ATV poker rally in the Marguerite area. It'll be a good time, so hopefully I'll be able to get some footage for you. And we'll likely be spending a lot of time in the next few days putting that big pile of firewood into a stack. And I did eventually get around to trimming the grass. I do the whole property in sections, so this section is basically I trim the sanctuary down by the roadside, in the ditches, along the driveway, and around the garden. So the next round of trimming will be happening actually as soon as I'm done editing this video. But before I go, I'll show you the progress happening in the garden, as well as what I made Man-Friend for his lunch today. Yum yum, he said it was very good. Thanks so much for watching today, you guys. I'll see you on the weekend. Ciao for now. Oh yeah, and stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to share my coffee mug collection with you. And I'm also going to reveal the little project I've been working on. It's not finished, but I'm going to tell you what it's going to be. Papa. Good morning. Good morning. My hands are full. Betty, come on. First, I'm going to tell you what I'm making out of my materials that I've been collecting at the beach. These are going to be Like there's one, say these are going to be like wind chimes. So man friend kindly put little holes in the shells so that I can hang them. I was thinking using like fishing line, and I can hang like different sizes and stuff. Like all different shells, you know, like strips of them like that, and then you hang it up. And he can, I think, you know, we could paint them or leave them just natural. And then I've also been collecting like some sea glass and little shells to decorate possibly this part here. You know, I could hot glue gun maybe the stuff on here. And I've been actually taking like actual serious time picking out like, you know, the perfect piece of driftwood to hang the shells from. So there could be one. I just think it would look so cute with the shells. Okay, you get the idea? You know, on a rainy day when we're kind of stuck inside, I can just sit here and kind of work on it. So that's that. Okay, so last week I told you about this mug. I'm using it right now for my after work coffee break, and I also told you about this mug. So this one and this one you already know about. So I've decided I'm going to show you all of the mugs, and then for the next few videos I will feature a couple of them. So today's feature is going to be this mug, and I gave you a little sneak peek of it last week. My good friend Mandy in Ontario, I worked with her at a garden center. Oh, and I just dropped it. I worked with her at a garden center when I left funeral work for good. I was sort of in a limbo state. I didn't know, I wasn't sure what I was going to do if I wasn't going to be a funeral director. I had tossed the idea about doing the dog grooming just because that was always sort of my retirement dream job. I always said after I was done funeral directing, I was going to groom dogs from home for the rest of my life. And that was something that was brought to the table, but I still wasn't sure. So I just took like a part-time job at a garden center, and that's where I met Mandy. You know, some people you just click right away, and there was a couple of people at the garden center that I clicked with, and it was a really nice dynamic. And anyway, I had a really good time working there. But I always maintained a friendship with Mandy because I just love her so much. She's funny and she's sweet and she's so talented, like crafty talented. And I learned a lot from her at the garden center. And anyway, before I moved out here, her and another good friend of mine from the garden center, we got together for lunch, and she made me this coffee mug, and I thought it was so special. It's got the map of Ontario on this side and the map of Cape Breton Island on this side, and we live right there. Home, away from home, wherever I am, I'm at home. That is just the sweetest mug. Andy's actually been on my mind quite a bit. And you know how sometimes people are just, they pop into your mind frequently and you don't know why, just random people just pop into your mind, and then you start wondering, like, I wonder how they're doing. I usually, when that happens, I actually reach out because there's a reason why they're on your mind. Just a random morning, early morning, I was having coffee with her mug because she's been on my mind, and early morning I sent her a text because I know she gets up early too for work. I sent her a text, just thinking of you, honey, you know, miss ya and hope you're doing good. And you know what, we had like a 15-20 minute chatter, sent a few photos back and forth, and it's just, she's so sweet. Anyway, so that's the feature mug of today's video. What's another one I can show you? So that one I love, and I use that one often because it's like big, you know, I like big mugs. And this one is super cute and great for camping. It's my campfire circle mug. So I'll talk about this mug, and then the next video I'll pull two more. Oh, we got friends here. This is Bubba. Now, how can I explain this? Campfire Circle is a camp for kids with cancer. So my sister had a Wilms tumor, which is a cancer of the kidney when she was a child. And she battled, through that for a couple of years. I at the time was like 3, 4 years old, and my mom was a single mom. So while my sister was battling cancer, she was in the hospital. And while at the hospital, there was this program that they were starting up, a camp program. So the doctors and the nurses formed like a committee, and they made like a camp for the patients that were on like that floor. I think that's how it went, on that floor, and their siblings, so that these kids who are sick and cooped up in a hospital all the time could actually go to a place where they get to experience camping for a week, and there'll be nurses there, and medical supplies and access to the ambulance and that sort of thing if needed, and kids could still do their chemo and go back to camp. Like, it was a really beautiful thing. And very quickly, I'll tell you, when I was younger, looking back, there was a time where it was a lot of times just me. And I was too young to understand what was going on. I knew my sister was sick. I didn't know how serious, because, when you're a kid, you just don't understand those things. But I knew she was always sick. She was always vomiting and sleeping and in the hospital. But there was a time where I don't remember seeing my sister a lot. People were always protecting me from stuff. And, when things got really serious and they thought that she might not survive, I remember one of my mom's good friends at the time picked me up and took me to a variety store. She took me there specifically for me to grab junk food, candy. She was spoiling me that day. I remember she just drove me around and treated me to all sorts of goodies, And I remember her saying, "Here, Bethany, take this bag and fill it up with all the candy you want." I took like 2 things and put it in the bag, and she goes, "No way, you load that up." And I was like, "No, I can't do that. I can't." She goes, "Yes, you can." I said, "Well, if I'm getting some for me, it'll be half for my sister." And later that day, my mom came and got me, and she said, "Okay, we're going to go see your sister at the hospital." I didn't know at the time, but that day specifically, my mom was told by the doctor to start considering funeral plans for my sister. And so that was a really hard day for my mom, obviously. And then, so I can't imagine having to go pick up your 3-year-old who doesn't understand. So I took my bag of candy and I literally shared everything, and not just shared it. By sharing, what I did was I bit half of each candy. So I took half the gummy bear, put it back, half the gum, put it back. All the candies were bit in half. And I saved like a jawbreaker, one of those big jawbreakers for her. I worried about her a lot, and I hated that she was sick. I hated it. I hated it. I would cry when she would puke. Like, it would be me upset, not her. And I struggled. I struggled with it, not knowing at the time that I was, that's pretty traumatizing going through that as a kid. But anyway, I would show up at the hospital and there's my sister in the bed. So I said, "I saved you half the candies." And she had a sense of humor, but she was so tired and sick. She couldn't, it was like, not that she didn't care, but she had that like, "Oh wow," like she couldn't show excitement because she was sick. She was not feeling good. She said, "I'm going to put the jawbreaker in my mouth and I'm going to tell the doctor that I have a toothache." And I said, "Okay." And this is like a vivid memory of my sister sitting on the bed with this big jawbreaker in her cheek. And the doctor came in, and we thought, "Oh, he'll never know. He'll think she has a toothache for sure." He obviously came in and was like acting that he was concerned about her toothache, Very strange to me, but that's the last memory I have in my memory bank of my sister sitting in a hospital bed. The next memory I have is sitting across from a nurse in an art room. I was in the hospital, but I was away from my sister. I was in a whole different wing, I think. And I remember her saying, like, you can use any of this art supplies. Anything that's in here, you get to use it. You can spend the whole day here, da da da. And so I did. And I remember her asking me to draw pictures and make things out of clay and Play-Doh. My mom told me years and years and years later, when I got older, I told her about that. I said, I remember this. And like she asked, do you remember things like da? And so I would tell her, yeah, I remember this and I remember that. And I remember the day with your friend. He said, well, the day that you drew, that you were with the nurse in the art room, that day in particular, they asked you to paint a picture of your family. And you had yourself, and there was clouds and tree. You had your sister up in the clouds, and you were down below with me. And the nurse asked you why you put Shelley in the clouds, and you said because she's with Jesus. All that said, it was at that time that the doctors and the nurses of that committee, the camp committee, said, okay, this girl thinks her sister has died. We need to get her to this camp with her sister. They need to be together for a week. They need to have just sister time. So they worked it out. They figured it out, and I was able to go to this camp, and it was called Camp Trillium. There's only a handful of us Camp Trillium originals left. We went that first year, and it was kind of traumatic for me. She just dropped me off at this wooded forest, and I remember hugging a tree, being like, don't leave me here. And I was so sad for my mom having to drive home all by herself. It's only a 50-minute drive from our house, or an hour, I guess. And for a little kid, that's a long drive. You felt like you were going to the other side of the world. I couldn't do much. I was too young to really participate in a lot of the activities they had planned, but I was able to do a lot of crafts that year and ride ponies and swim. That camp got bigger and bigger and bigger every year, and it was amazing. It saved my mom's life, and it saved our lives. Like, it really was special. Don't have anything from Camp Trillium other than a few pictures and, memories, obviously, but Campfire Circle took over Camp Trillium, and now I support that camp also. So my sister and I went to Camp Trillium for 10 years. We became one of the 10-year folks, and that's what I mean by being one of the originals. Like, we're old. But the camp started with tents and a little dining hall and a little dining cabin, I guess, and it's now massive. Like, there's a private island, there's sister locations, there's cabins, and there's no tents anymore. It's a huge thing. But what it's doing for kids with cancer, it's incredible. Like, I will support that camp forever, for as long as they're established. It changed my life. So I bought this. My sister and my mom and I went to one of the open houses of one of the locations that was near our home in Ontario. I was fundraising that year and wanted to get some things for the fundraiser and so I bought this mug. And Healing Through Happiness, Campfire Circle. We walked through the camp and stuff and take a little tour, and it was really special. Breakable, so I don't usually take this one camping. I just drink coffee from it around here. Usually I have this when I'm sitting around the fire here. Every mug is specific to the needs of the day. Like, sometimes I go through 3-4 mugs in a day. There's 2 more mugs. In my next video, I will share another couple mug stories for you. It's summertime again. We went from like the hottest day of the year just a few days ago, and then within 30 minutes it went to the coldest time. We literally put our wood stove on, and I ran the furnace in the RV for an hour just to take the chill out, and then it turned into all rain and cold, and then now it's summer again, hot. So I'm not complaining. I love it. So now I'm gonna enjoy my coffee break. And basically the only thing I'm going to do this afternoon is stack firewood. Manfred put a pretty good dent in it already. So I got to catch up a little to him. Thank you all so much for hanging out to the end of the video. I'll see you in a few days. Ciao for now. And by the way, Mandy's getting the first wind chime. Love you, Mandy. Not all the mug stories are going to be that long-winded, but the campfire circle story needed a little more context for you. So sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry.